unto the angel of the church at Ephesus write, these things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. Now the first church age was the church of Ephesus. The second church age was Smyrna. The third church age was Pergus. The fourth church age was Thyatira. The fifth church age was Sardis. And the sixth church age was Philadelphia. And the seventh church age was Laodicea. Now the first church age started about AD 53, when Paul established the church in Ephesus on his missionary journey. He established the church at Ephesus, the Ephesian church, and was the pastor of it. So when he was beheaded in 66, making him about 22 years, the pastor of the Ephesian church. After his death, then, we're told that St. Paul, or St. John, the divine, became the pastor of the church and carried on up into this age. And the church age lapped over to 170. The angel of the first church was St. Paul. He founded it. God's messenger.
He had a Christ-centered call. Amen. And that was his absolute. That's the reason he wasn't afraid of what Agrippa would say. Standing there, and Agrippa was a Jew, as we know. When he's standing before these kings and things, God had already told him he'd stand there. So he had an absolute, so he told exactly the heavenly visions. But he held to and was not disobedient. He carried it out to the minute, for it was an absolute. And any Christ-centered life, that's your absolute. Since meeting him face to face on the road to Damascus, that meant so much to Paul. Now remember, he was a scholar beforehand. He was a mighty man in the Scriptures. But he didn't have any tie post but the Sanhedrin that would back him up, and a diploma from a great teacher. He was a great man in his field. But he was waiting. Only thing he had, his absolute would only be as strong as his organization was. That's all the stronger he could be. And he was working faithful to that. And was taking Christians and binding them and making havoc of them and even stoned Stephen. I think later in his life, the reason he went to Jerusalem when the prophet told him Don't go up there, Paul. For chains and prison waits for you. Paul said, I know it. But I'm not only going to Jerusalem as a witness, but I'm going there, I'm ready to die for Jesus Christ. For he knew what he had done, and his ambition was to seal his testimony with his own blood. Die a martyr because he killed one of God's martyrs. And now, he was on his road down to Damascus with all of his education. Stutter of that great teacher Gamaliel, and how that he had been taught in all the Jewish religion. And yet with all that, he was flimsy and he did not have the ability to do certain things, and all of a sudden there was a light and a roar, maybe in a thunder. And he was smitten and fell to the ground. And he looked up. There was a light shining that blinded his eyes. And what a strange thing that was. No one else saw the light, just Saul. It was so real to him until it blinded his eyes. He couldn't see, totally blind. With that pillar of fire blazing him right in the face. And he heard a voice saying, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? He said, Lord, who are you? And he said, I'm Jesus. Amen. It's hard for you to kick against these pricks. Rise now and go into Damascus, and there one will be sent to you. Then when he raised up from there, and there was one, a prophet down in the city, who saw in a vision while he was praying. And he came, Ananias came in, come into Saul, laid his hands upon him, and he was healed by divine healing. He rose and was baptized, washing away his sins, calling upon the name of the Lord. And then he had an absolute. Amen. He was never the same after that. He went straight from church to church, from place to place, trying to build up that which he had tried to tear down. Paul knew that something happened. There was no one could take it away from him. Nothing else mattered. He was tied. And that was it. No matter what come, he knew he was tied. Christ-centered life. Oh, the life that he had lived was a different life.
That blessed man. Oh, to stand there that day and watch that martyr's crown put on his head. If there's such a thing as I can weep, then I'll weep. I'll shout to see Paul. See St. Paul, that great apostle, with his robe made bright and fair. And I'm sure there'll be some shouting when we all get there, aren't you? Amen.